In this video, we will talk about how to personalize its learning content for your students using its learning groups and permissions. We will discuss existing course groups in your programmatic It's Learning courses. We will discuss the ability to create groups, and we will discuss how to permission elements within an It's Learning course for groups or a set group of students. Because It's Learning courses are created programmatically, every It's Learning course contains groups of students based on what is in eSchool Plus in terms of scheduling. The course groups that I am showing right now are groups for a 8th grade language arts class. And you can see that while all of these students are participants in this class, they are grouped by the period or section in which the teacher sees them. This is done programmatically by It's Learning based on what is in eSchool Plus. In this view, I am looking at the actual participant list of this language arts course, and I can see all of my participants' names. But if I hover over the groups menu and I pull that down, I can also break down this list of participants by section group or the section in which I see these students in class. I'm able to filter that way in It's Learning assignments as well, which is nice for when I want to grade just a specific class's worth of work. And so now that we've looked at the existing course groups in It's Learning, let's review how to create your own course groups. So you may wish to create your own course groups for an instructional purpose. It may be that you are grouping your students based on their ability, or it may be that you are grouping them homogeneously so that they are able to work in a homogeneous environment. You may have different groups for different purposes. You may create a group just for one instance and then use a different group the next time. It is all up to the teacher as to how she or he wants to proceed with that. So when I go into my course and into my course groups, I don't have any course groups here because this is my demo course. If this was one of the courses that I showed you earlier in this video, I would see my sections of students here. Even if I do have my sections of students here, I'm able to create my own group. So I have options at the top. I can create a group or I can auto create a group. So I'm going to create my own group, and I'm just going to call this group Group 1. Once I give my group a title, I'm able to select from the participants in my group who I want to be in Group 1. So in this case, I want my student number 3, which is my demo student, to be in Group number 1. And now I can see my participants. I'm able to change my group title. I'm able to add more participants if I want. I can even add a subgroup to my group if I wish. I'm going to go back to my groups now, and I'm going to create a second group called Group 2. And in Group 2, I'm going to add my demo student number 4. And so now I have, for demonstration purposes, two groups, one with Group 1 having Tech Student 3 and one with Group 2 having Tech Student 4. I want to point out this Auto Create option. This is a really neat option if you just want to have a automatically created group and you don't want to have to do any of the work to create that group. So if I go into Auto Create, I can give my group a title. I can decide how many groups I want and how many students I want in each group, and it will automatically create my groups for me. So that's a nice option if you want to do an activity and you just want to have random groups that are not manually created. I'm going to go back to my groups. And so remember, I've created group number 1 and I've created group number 2. And now what I want to do is I want to use these groups to permission some of the content that I've already created in my course. So there's certain content in my course that I only want my group 1 students to see, and there's certain content in my course that I only want my group 2 students to see. So I'm actually going to go into my plans, and in my plans, I have a lesson that I've already created, and I have my playlist here that I've already created. And I want my students to go through most of this playlist item by item. There's only one area where I want to add some differentiation, and that is in this explore option. So when I go into this explore option, what I've done here is I've curated 4 resources that I want my students to go through. This body control center simulator is a little challenging, so I do not want my students in group number 2 to have to do this because I think this would cause them some frustration. So what control simulator. So I'm going to click on the link. And again, this is a simulation that I do not want my group 2 student to be participating in because they may meet with some frustration. So while I am on my actual link here, I'm going to go up to my ellipses. And within that ellipses menu, I have permissions. I'm going to click on my permissions. And I have 3 options here. I want to see who can view the element, who can edit the element, or view a detailed overview of current permissions. Right now, I just want to change who can view this element because I do not want my group 2 student to view the element. So you'll see that I have my permissions here, and right now I'm going to add group 1 to my permissions, which means group 1 students will be the only students that can view my element. I'm going to add save. So I've now logged in as student 4, and I'm going to take a look at what student 4 sees when they land on my course. So again, it was the elements within this Explore folder that we permissioned. So when I push start in my playlist and I come to the folder, I will see that my student does not see that simulator, which I thought might be challenging for them. I'm now logged in as student 3. And again, I'm going to go to the NAP demo course. And I have my plan, and I'm going to push my start button. And this student does see the simulator because I permission things so that that student would see that item. So groups and permissions will allow me to personalize my content for my student. In this case, I personalized it for a group of students, but I could also personalize it for 1 or 2 students when I go to that permissions menu. Another time when you may wish to personalize content for your students is perhaps you are having a team meeting, but perhaps in your team meeting, you only want to meet with a certain group of students. You don't want it to be available to all of the students in your class. So I'm going to add a team meeting to my playlist, and I'm going to call it small group meeting. And I'm going to add in my meeting details. And once I add in my meeting details and my link is generated, I do not want my meeting to go to 2:30 a.m., 2:30 p.m. Once my link is generated into my course, I'm going to save this element. And I'm going to click back on that element because I want to go into my permissions. So this is a small group meeting that only certain students of mine are going to see. So again, I'm going to permission this, and I am going to select who can view the note because I only want students who can view the note to attend the meeting. And I am actually going to go to my participants, and I am going to decide that I only want my student 3 to attend my meeting. And again, I could add more students over here if I wished, but for demonstration purposes, I'm just adding 1. And so now I'm going to go back to my demo student, and this is student 3, and I'm going to just refresh. And when I go to my playlist, my student has that small group meeting. I'm now logged in as student 4, and when I go to that playlist, you will note that my student does not see that meeting. So because I permissioned that meeting, only students who I gave permission to that meeting are able to view it. So this is another way to personalize your content for your students, in this case personalizing who can see a class meeting. You may wish to use some naming conventions to help keep yourself organized. So instead of calling it small group meeting, you may call it something else, or you may put the students who are meeting with you within the content of that note.